Okay, welcome to the first lesson of the GED reading section. We're going to start off with author's purpose, and this is going to be a short lecture with a couple handouts that you should have downloaded from the website. The first thing I want to do is watch a video and consider the questions that follow it. Okay, so now after watching the video, I want you to consider, what is the creator of the video trying to say? Does he or she have an opinion? Is he or she trying to give you information? Is he or she trying to make you do something or change how you think? Well, ironically, the video doesn't have any words in it, but they are definitely saying something by that video. So, do they have an opinion? Well, honestly, it was stated at the end, don't text and drive. The images that they're using are used to create an emotion in you to get you to stop texting and driving, or to convince you to change the way you think. So it is giving you information, possibly, but there's not really any facts, statistics, or anything like that that's trying to educate us, simply trying to convince us to do something. So when we're talking about author's purpose, it's as easy as pie. And if you just remember these three things: persuade, inform, and entertain. In persuasive type of writing or presentations, you have authors that are trying to convince you to do something, trying to convince you to change the way you think or to act in a certain way. So you'll see this type of persuasive writing in campaign speeches and op-ed articles, which are opinion articles in newspapers, and advertisements. For instance, stop bullying, tell a teacher, tell an adult, tell someone. That poster is obviously telling you exactly what they want you to do. A little less obvious is here, the I want you for the U.S. Army nearest recruiting station. Again, it's persuasive. It's using an image of Uncle Sam to get us to tap into our patriotic side and get us to join up for the Army. Some signal words to watch out for, and you can check out handout AP1A to look at these in more detail. But here are just some signal words that you'll see with persuasive writing. And a lot of times you'll see, in my opinion, or I believe, or things like I question whether, or unquestionably, or we must, or start or stop doing this, or do this or don't do that. It's imperative in any case, equally important. Conversely, in spite of, nevertheless. Some of these are really indicative of a persuasive argument. For instance, conversely, and in spite of, because they actually show that the person who's writing it is about to introduce the opposite opinion. And that tells you right there that they are going to usually be persuading you. Informing. Oftentimes, readers will try to inform and educate you, and these are usually in the news or textbooks or instruction manuals. But there is absolutely no opinion given or implied. Here are just a couple of examples. Here's an article about cancer efforts being honored at a hospital, and that is strictly informational. The portable electric drill. This is a instruction manual. It's not giving an opinion, not trying to get you to do anything, and it's certainly not going to entertain you. One of the things I try to tell my students when we're talking about informing is you have to think about it's the most boring type of reading because it's not entertaining you and it's not trying to persuade you, so you're not going to get a lot of emotion from it. And here are some signal words. And the interesting thing about how these informational articles or passages are usually constructed is based on a certain type of text structure, which we're going to get into in other lessons. But sequence, after, first, second, third, initially, furthermore, they're giving a sequence of how things happen, comparing and contrasting two things, talking about alike and unalike, compared with, or on the other hand. However, is a very, very big clue in there. Cause and effect as a result, consequently, this led to. And of course, see handout AP1B, which will go more in depth on signal words for informational text. Then we have entertaining text. And honestly, these are the most common types of texts for most people that are, readers. And we often see that our students are pretty good at doing this type of reading comprehension. So novels like Twilight or plays like Annie or poems, these are the types of things that are strictly meant to entertain us. And sometimes there's a dual purpose. There's gray areas, so to speak. You have infotainment, which is where the writer is trying to inform you while adding an element of entertainment, and usually it's humor. So you can think of something like The Daily Show, where Jon Stewart is giving information about what's happening in the news, so that's informational, but he's also adding some humor to it and making it entertaining so people will want to watch. Same thing with The Colbert Report. It's the same philosophy there, infotainment. And then also infomercial, or we tend to think of these things as advertisements, but they're usually trying to sell you or persuade you, and they're using facts to do so. A lot of times you'll see these products like lipozene that are supposedly going to cut out 80 or some crazy amount of fat from your body. Well, they are giving you information, you're going to see the facts, but what they're really trying to do with those facts is convince you to buy their product. So that's where you tend to see the informational and the persuasive merge. But the main goal in any of these is to persuade you, and that's where it gets tricky. So we're going to do some practice here. You've seen the negative television ads on TV, you've heard them on the radio, and you've probably even seen them on billboards, and you've probably rolled your eyes. So why are politicians still campaigning using negativity to get elected? Because it works, folks. Even though we seem disgusted and pretend to brush it off, the majority of voters are still affected by it in some way, shape, or form. The day we all decide to stop listening to the negativity is the day it will end. It's time we all band together to say, stop blaming and start talking about how you're going to make my life better. Well, if you just listen to the tone of that and you look at some of the elements there, we can pretty much identify the author's purpose. So let's look at it. I've identified the author's purpose as persuasive. And here's how I did so. I looked for some key words or key punctuation or phrases that kind of clued me into that. And the first thing I see is you've. These are statements that are telling me about myself. They're awfully demanding. It works. These are throwing it out there, telling you exactly what you're supposed to believe. It's not leaving you up for interpretation or showing you two different sides. It is telling you what they want you to believe. Stop. It's one of those signal words. Stop. Start talking. It's time. That's another demanding. It goes along with this. It's time to do this. And band together. It's demanding. You won't always see persuasive passages that are saying I believe or in my opinion explicitly stated because they're better writers than that. They know that if they do that, you're going to really kind of clue into the fact that what they're telling you is an opinion. But really, even though they don't say that, that's the fact, is that this is an opinion. You can also look at the the punctuation marks, question marks, lots of exclamation points in here, and some dashes in a very informal way that this is structured, kind of clues us into there being an element of demand and questioning and demanding. So I want you to think about that when you're looking at persuasion. But let's try it again. And let's read this one on our own, and then we're going to try to answer a multiple choice question about it. So take a moment and do that and pause the video. Okay, so now that we've read this, we're going to answer this question. Which of the following sentence best describes why the author wrote the passage? Is it A, to shock the reader into acting against forest fires? Well, let's go back. Look at where our signal words are. Are there anything that we see as a demand? Okay, uncontrolled blazes. Well, okay. Fueled by weather, wind, and dry underbrush, wildfires can burn acres of land. But it doesn't say burn. It doesn't directly demand anything from me. And here there's a lot of facts. 4 million to 5 million acres, 100,000 wildfires. A wildfire moves at the speed of up to 14 miles per hour. These are facts that are pretty indisputable that aren't really trying to convince me of anything. So now my next one, to present facts to the reader about wildfires and their apparent dangers. Okay, I can buy that one. Let's look at C, present the story of wildfires. And then the last one, to inform the reader about why he or she should move away from areas with high wildfire events. Well, let's break it down. We know it's not D because A, this is a contradictory statement. You're informing the reader about what to do? That's persuasive. So that can't be the answer because that's saying that it's not persuasive, or it's saying that it's an informative article, but also giving you a persuasive context. So we know it's not D. Okay, what about A, to shock the reader into acting against forest fires? Well, some of these statistics are pretty shocking, and it does kind of make me want to do something, but what do they suggest that I do? Nothing. They're not suggesting I do anything or demanding that I do anything, so they're not trying to persuade me, so it can't be A. So let's look at B and C. Is it to present the story of wildfires? Well, it does give a lot of facts about it, but I really want to focus on that word story. The story of something. We often use that really, really broadly, and we say, oh, the story I read in the newspaper. No. Stories are narratives. They are telling a story. This is what happened first. This is what happened second. They're usually for entertainment purposes. So, in really the literal sense of the meaning of story, is to present the story of wildfires. Where did they come from? How do they live? What are they like? We know that's not what's happening here. They're not telling us a story about wildfires. If they were, it'd be a lot different. Sorry, folks. Just got off track a little bit. So let's look at the second one. To present facts to the reader about wildfires and their apparent dangers. Is it presenting facts? Absolutely. And is it telling about wildfires and their apparent dangers? Absolutely. It's all focused on the danger. So the answer has to be B. Okay, so as we finish up, we've ended this video for now. I want you to move on to the activity in the next section, and then I'll see you for the next lecture on main idea. Have a good one.